It was a cloudless morning in Volusia County. Jessica Devnani had woken up like it was any other Tuesday. She and her fiancé, 25-year-old Patrick de la Cerda, were in love, talking excitedly about wedding plans, working toward building a life together. But when Patrick didn't answer her morning calls or texts, Jessica knew something was wrong, very wrong. By 11 a.m., she had driven to his family's property, a small barn-style home they'd been renovating together. The gate was open. The dogs barked, but Patrick wasn't outside to greet her. She called his name. Nothing. Then she opened the front door, and everything shattered. Patrick was lying just inside the threshold. Blood pooled around his body. There were shell casings scattered on the floor. He had been shot multiple times in the chest, the neck, and the head. Jessica screamed. She collapsed. Neighbors called 911 as she wailed from the driveway, screaming his name over and over again. Deputies from the Volusia County Sheriff's Office arrived minutes later. One look at the scene and it was clear. This wasn't a break-in. This was a hit. Someone had come there, knowing exactly what they were doing, and executed Patrick in cold blood. Patrick de la Cerda was everything Jessica had ever dreamed of. Chivalrous, affectionate, gentle. He was a romantic. A month earlier, he had proposed to her with a custom-designed engagement ring, presenting it with a bouquet of her favorite flowers. They'd been planning a trip to Puerto Rico, talking about starting a family. He loved old cars, animals, and making Jessica laugh. There were no known enemies, no criminal ties, no debts. Who would want him dead? That was the question Detective Chad Weaver kept asking as he looked around the pristine barn house, now stained with blood. But clues were few. No forced entry, no robbery, just 3.32 caliber shell casings, and a murdered young man. Then Jessica told them about the voicemails. 2 weeks earlier, Patrick had received a disturbing voicemail. It was from a private number. The message was vague but threatening, something about debt and paying the price. Patrick had brushed it off. Then he started acting different. He told Jessica he felt watched, that he was hearing strange noises outside at night. He even installed a new lock on the front door and carried his gun more often. One night, he said he thought someone had followed him home, but there were no reports, no footage, until a neighbor mentioned something strange. A house up the road had caught something on their security camera the week before the murder. A silver Nissan Altima slowly driving past Patrick's property multiple times, always around 6 to 7 a.m., the same time Patrick usually left for work. Jessica mentioned an ex-boyfriend she hadn't heard from in months. Gregory Bender. He used to be obsessed with her. Controlling. Jealous. She left him in 2017, months before meeting Patrick. Jessica remembered his manipulative threats. How he used to stalk her online. I didn't think he'd come back, she said quietly. The detectives started looking into Gregory Bender. Bender was no ordinary ex. He was wealthy, reclusive, and reportedly brilliant. An engineer living in Windermere, Florida. He lived in a mansion, guarded by a high wall and security cameras. He also had a history of making Jessica's life miserable after the breakup. He once sent her an email calling her a filthy, disloyal whore. She had blocked him everywhere. When she got together with Patrick, Bender tried to reconnect, sending long, manipulative texts that switched between begging and threatening. Then came the lawsuits. He had filed a baseless restraining order against Patrick, claiming he had threatened him. The court dismissed it. But Bender wasn't finished. Desperate for answers and unable to sleep, Jessica hired a private investigator a few days after Patrick's funeral. The investigator began trailing Bender and going through publicly available data. It led him to a gun collector who claimed Bender had purchased an illegal .32 caliber firearm through a mutual acquaintance. The same caliber used to kill Patrick. Meanwhile, detectives found a deleted note on Jessica's old phone, one from Bender that read, "If I can't have you, no one will." Still, it wasn't enough. Until the affidavit from a whistleblower cracked the case wide open. On February 26th, the day before Patrick's murder, detectives received a tip from a woman who had once dated Bender. She had found something in his home, a notebook hidden beneath a floorboard in a locked box. She turned it over to detectives. Inside were pages and pages of Bender's ramblings, obsessive notes, hate-filled rants against Patrick and Jessica, and a plan, written in chilling detail. The plan outlined how to kill Patrick. Arrive before sunrise. Park 500 feet down the driveway. Await until he opens the door. Shoot 3 times, chest, neck, head. Leave no shell casings. It was a blueprint for murder, and every step matched what had happened. Except Bender had left shell casings. That mistake would be his undoing. Detectives obtained a search warrant and raided Bender's estate. Inside, they found the silver Altima. In a safe, they found a .32 caliber pistol. Ballistics confirmed it was the murder weapon. On March 6, 2018, Gregory Bender was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He showed no emotion. At trial, his attorneys argued mental illness, obsession, and delusion. But prosecutors had something stronger: motive, means, opportunity, and a handwritten murder manifesto. Jessica sat in the courtroom every day, trembling but strong. She wept when the verdict was read. Justice at last. Patrick had written Jessica a letter for Valentine's Day just days before his death. She read it at his memorial. "Every day with you is a blessing I never thought I deserved. I will love you in this life and the next." Jessica keeps that letter framed beside her bed. She never got to marry Patrick, but she honors him every single day by speaking out against stalking and domestic abuse. She works with advocacy groups now, helping women recognize red flags and trust their instincts, because she learned too late how dangerous obsession can become. Gregory Bender believed his wealth, intelligence, and planning could shield him from consequences. He thought no one would connect the dots, but he left behind traces, obsessive messages, a carelessly dropped shell casing, and most damning of all, a journal that confessed everything. He believed he could kill a man in cold blood and walk away untouched. But he underestimated one thing: the fierce, relentless love of a woman seeking justice. Jessica Devnani and the detectives who stood by her refused to let Patrick's death be the end of his story. They turned grief into grit. And in the end, the man who thought he was too smart to be caught was caught by his own hand. If this emotional true crime story moved you, don't forget to subscribe for more stories of survival, justice, and truth. Turn on notifications so you never miss a chilling new documentary.